I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Oscar nominee Demián Bichir, the star of Let the Right One In. Demián, partway through the series, it occurred to me, when your character laments, he says, every time you kill, you lose a part of yourself. And that really comes into sharp focus later on in the season. We've just seen episode 9. So what prepares you to portray a man racked with this suffocating guilt and shame and despair? Because it's a really big part of who Mark is at this point in his life.
Well, first of all, thank you, Robert, for having me. I think Mark is one of those characters that any actor is always looking for, and because we're always hoping to find something that is three-dimensional and something that can help us expand our own limits and our own range, and hopefully something that represents a risk or something that goes beyond the genre. And so that's what I found here. Not only my character is like bigger than life type of characters, one of the most complex and difficult characters that I've ever played before, ever. But the story is absolutely powerful. It's so and it does go beyond the genre. This is not your everyday fantasy or vampire story. This is something else. We talk about many different subject matters, and if you pay attention, you will see a little bit of this and that. You obviously see what the immigration phenomenon is like in a place and time like the United States right now. Having these two protagonists being Mexican, I think it's a great asset. I think it's a phenomenal thing that you begin the series seeing these characters running. We're running from one place to another, and that's pretty much what we've been doing. From one state to another, where whenever they implement crazy, laws in terms of getting rid of the immigrant work, we don't disappear. We don't go back to where we came from. We move to a different place, and to a different place, and then to a different country, and then to a different state or city or whatever. But we're resilient, and we continue to fight. And basically, the main issue of the story is what we parents can do for our children, to keep them safe and to keep them alive and to keep them happy and to keep them fed. In this case.
Yeah.
And so that's how the series begins. We're running again from one place to another. We can't see the light of the sun. We can't be on, during the day. We can't be freely and happily outside during daylight. And that's how millions of people live.
I love that. I love that this show is grounded in reality. For much of the first season, the horror elements really start to come to the fore towards the end of the season as the tension and drama and horror elements ramp up. But this show is fundamentally about this compelling contemplation of the lengths that we would go for someone that we love, particularly someone like Mark and Eleanor, who are always watching their back and always on the run. So Andrew Hinderaker has taken this very famous novel, which was made into 2 films, and brought this vision to life on the screen in his own way. So apart from the obvious, which you've just talked about, how did he sell this to you to make you really wanted to be a part of the pilot, and then of course when it was picked up to then be part of the series?
It was basically the promise of what I just said, of a three-dimensional character and a very, very powerful character. And if you go deeper into it, you will see that it's almost like a Shakespearean character. It has this gravity, it's a Hamlet in many ways. It's Richard III. It's even King Lear. And you see just the fact that it's not your everyday Mexican stereotype into, whatever Hollywood thinks Mexicans are or Mexicans should be. I think it's a wonderful thing that a Mexican actor can play this particular lead, and also the fact that my voice and my vote were going to be counted properly, because that's something you want to make sure that it's there and it's in place, and
Yeah.
and of course I love Andrew as the first time we talked, it was an immediate connection, and my first meetings on Zoom were with Andrew and of course Zipman. Zipman is our director and executive producer. Also, he directed the first 3 episodes, and so I just loved what we talked. We connected immediately, and that's a big plus. And also, the fact that they promised to bring in a phenomenal cast, and they made the promise.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's one of the things that you see. I love football, for example. I love to play tennis also, and I'm only as good as my opponent, and I'm only as good as my team players. My teammates, and if we have a phenomenal team, then all the bases are covered and all the positions are covered, and all you have to do is just fly and you know perform your best. And also going back to Showtime, this is my second time working with
Yeah.
Showtime, and it was I had a great time when we did Weeds, back in a few years back, and and getting back home, to my home and in Showtime with this protagonist. I think it was a tremendous gift. It's a beautiful present that Showtime and Andrew Hinderaker put in my hands.
Yeah. I I forget often that you were Esteban in Weeds. It was a while ago now, right? And like you've done so much wonderful work in the meantime. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's when I
Thank
first
you.
saw you and I thought, wow, you're so compelling as a performer. And you're right, this cast like Grace Gummer and Nick Stahl and Kevin Carroll, but like the kids,
Oh,
like my God, Ian and Madison are amazing. What do you most value about working with those 2 kids? Because sometimes you can tell the kids are acting, but they're not as good as perhaps maybe the adults because of experience. But I don't feel that at all on this show.
it's I totally agree with you because it can be also a pain in the neck. It can be not a pleasant journey if you have a couple of little rascals that can't behave or don't know what it's like to be in a set. You know, so but let me first say that yes, Grace Gummer and Anika Nani Rose and Kevin Carl and everybody else, everybody who plays, every single character, even the smallest. I hate to say small characters because there's not such a thing. They're only small actors, and we have huge actors.
Yeah.
And just the thought of going to work, quote unquote, because this is not work for me. This is a big pleasure, and to go to set and know that you will have another chance to act, or opposite this beautiful group of actors, this fantastic group of actors. It's a joy. It's a present. You never think about the few hours that you'll sleep or how tough the shooting is, because that makes you very, very happy. And then the kids, we it's already really hard for any adult to carry the weight of a show on your shoulders. So just the fact that Ian Foreman and Madison Taylor Byers, they have very, very difficult roles on their shoulders, and and Madison playing one of the leads also. It's very, very exhausting. It can be devastating for any kid
Yeah.
if they don't have the proper everything, the proper family I think it all comes from that, you know, it all comes from there, because these two little monsters, not these two little ones. Oh, I think I froze. Are you still
Yeah,
there?
you're still there. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, go
okay.
for it. Mhm.
Okay. Madison and Ian, they are not only tremendously talented, but they're also very, very professional. They are professional, and it's very easy to do what we do, you know, to carry such a heavy type of shooting for so long, because it's about 5-6 months under severe weather, and you know, a lot of night shoots and stuff and things like that. It's physically, emotionally, and mentally very demanding. So you can only achieve that if you have the perfect group of actors around you, and those two kids are second to none.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm so impressed with them. They're doing some really interesting, emotionally intelligent work that are well beyond their years. And so I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing what they'll do as they get older. I want to talk a little bit about your performance, Demián, because Mark is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, right? As a father, he's fighting, and it's primal and relatable to me and many viewers. I admired the way you wear that wariness and despair on your face and in your posture and your voice. And I notice it more when he has those moments of happiness, where he kisses Naomi, where he's cooking, where your whole body and your face completely change. And that's when I notice what you're doing. Very subtle work there. How much do you work on that kind of physical acting to give us insight into his emotional state?
Well, first of all, let me say that God bless your heart, because what I wanted, you know, when I was creating this character, when I was entering this adventure and trying to understand everything around it, that's what I wanted, you know, what you just said. And to me, even if one, you know, only one spectator gets it, that's to me it, you know. And I have to say, you know, I've been very lucky, because a lot of people have, you know, connected with us very deeply and emotionally, um, and but that's exactly what it is, and that's what I wanted to build. And it's probably the hardest part of creating a role. Is he gonna talk, walk, feel, move, suffer, cry, and smile? You know, how is he gonna do that? How is this particular human being does that? You know, how does Mark do it? And I wanted that precise thing. You know, I wanted that to be clear. I wanted to make clear that life was divided in two. You know, before and after my daughter was infected by this virus. You know, life was beautiful and incredible, and we were in love, and I was about to become a rock star in the kitchen world, and then everything changed. And that's to me another big part of what people have loved about the series, you know. And this very subtle analogy, uh, or you know, metaphor that connects us with what is it like when you have an addiction at home. Everything changes, and it affects the whole family. Or a terrible illness. You know, when you have a terminal illness at home, everything changes, and it affects everyone around you. And that's exactly what happens to the characters. So I wonder that I had those three different lines in place to play them properly, and to make you feel, you know, you as Robert, and everybody else as the audience, to make you guys feel that there's been a lot of, you know, a lot of stuff going on before the series begins. And that's where, if you stay with us, if you engage with us, you will see that, and you know, all the way toward episode 7 and 8.
Yeah, it's true. Like episode 7 is so powerful. I remember when it finished, the credits roll in silence, and I was in silence. I was just like, because everything gets ripped away from this family. It's addiction, it's illness, it's grief over the death. And then that's what makes episode 8 and 9 so powerful, because then they're really in trouble. You know, they've been taken captive and they have to escape this situation. What were your reactions to episode 7? Because I think that's where you've probably done some of your best work ever.
Thank you. Thank you so much, because it was that was a tough one. I mean, there's not an easy ride in anything, you know, in any project, not to me. You know, there's always a lot of, you know, different obstacles, different challenges that you go through, and you know that when you read the material. So to me, episode 7 had like 3 different phases. The first one of those phases is when I read the script, which, by the way, was one of the first scripts that Andrew wrote before before going back to episode 0. That's one of the first episodes that he actually worked on. And so the first time I read it, I was very, very hit. I was hit by it. I was very moved by it, and I was rocked. You know, it was like a big, you know, whirlwind that it was emotionally charged. And then I sort of kind of put it behind, and I only concentrated on you know, the first 6 episodes, and that's how I work. You know, I go scene by scene, day by day. I never think about, you know, anything. I don't. I just, you know, go for the next step, and then it hit me again when we shot it. You know, when that week of shooting episode 7 came, it hit me again very, very deeply. And then it hit me for a third time when I watched it finished. And it was just a roller coaster of emotions that I went through in 3 different time periods, and 3 different, you know, states of mind, and 3 different everything, even geographically. You know, I was under a different, you know, different circumstances, and it hit me really, really powerfully. It's a very, very, very heavy piece of work. Some of the heaviest. You know, only the work I did with Angelina overpasses that. You know, and that this is really weird, because I shot the film with Angelina Jolie right after shooting this series.
Right.
And I was drained. I was already exhausted. I was like, you know, but when I read that script, it was heavier than Let the Right One In. It was heavier, and it was more, you know, it was more charged emotionally and physically and everything. So I went from one into the other right away with no vacation or anything like that. And I think it was good to do it that way. But it was so I've been through a lot in a very short period of time, and after that, you know, I had a chance to rest. But it was very emotional. And then episode 8 and 9 and 10,
Oof.
they don't get any easier. You know, it's just like you see, to me, we take the plane from episode 0 to episode 6. We take the plane into the right, boom, and then episode 6 it begins running on the runway, and then episode 7 goes like boom, and 8, 9, and 10 is like sayonara, see you later.
It's true. Like after 7, I thought, okay, that was amazing, and then 8 killed me. 9 is insane, and then when people see this finale, which I'm lucky that I've seen, it's blown my mind. And so we've run out of time, but I know Showtime hasn't renewed the series yet. I hope they do, and because I know that there's so much more of this story to tell. Demián, congratulations on great
Oh
work.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, brother. Thank you so much for that, and I'm glad you like it and spread the word. Tell your friends.